We're about to be live.
I'm
Good
just
evening.
It says we are
Everyone.
live.
It says we are live. All right, cool beans. Okay, tonight, yeah, I want to thank everyone for joining us. My name is Trinetta Powell, and tonight we're having a fireside chat on I'm Not Your Superwoman. And this topic is near and dear to me. Um, because of my own personal life experiences. I'm a licensed therapist, and I see a lot of high achieving women of color who all tend to be in this space of a challenge of being everything to everybody. And being in that space of being everything to everybody causes a lot of conflicts. It causes distress and different types of things that are not positive in their lives. So I felt that it was very important for us to have this conversation tonight on just the mindset of women of color and having this superwoman syndrome or mindset, so you would say. So I decided to invite a couple of friends to join me, and I want to start off by letting them introduce themselves, and then we're going to get right into it. Because if you follow me and you know me, I don't waste no time. We like to jump in and get to the good stuff and not do all that fluff. Okay. All right. So who wants to go first? Kim?
all right. Yes. Thank you so much for having me today here, my friend. I love being here with all of y'all. As you mentioned, Trinetta, my name is Kimberly Parker. I am a licensed professional counselor and licensed chemical dependency counselor, group practice owner of Revive to Thrive Wellness Center. There I lead, but also supervise, also have some coaching clients, and offer continuing education for individuals who are passionate about the topic or wanting to learn more about the topic of cultural humility. Outside of that, I'm an auntie, and that's like my favorite job ever. And I'm super duper blessed to be here with friends who have been there for me really when I needed you the most, and have really been my business buddies and my late night voice message buddies, all of that.
Yes, cool.
Yes.
Okay.
Mhm.
Thanks, Kim. And y'all,
Well,
as you come in, please comment in the comments who you are, where you're joining us from. We would like to know where you're coming in and chat with us a little bit. All right, Danny.
Yes, good evening, everyone. My name is Danny White. I am the CEO of a digital marketing agency. I'm also a content strategist and an author. And I met these wonderful ladies earlier this year, and it has been a blast learning and growing and doing all the things with them. So I'm glad to be here.
Awesome, awesome. All right. And the prophetess, Sharonda.
Hey, y'all. I am Sharonda Ford. I am a God girl, a wife, the CEO of Beyond the Mass Trauma and Wellness, and also I'm an author, a strategist, and the good wife therapist. I am excited. I also am so grateful for you amazing women who I have connected with in person and virtually, and just enjoy, as Kim said, all of our chats, not just the late night ones, just all of them. So I'm excited to be here and to talk about something that's near and dear to my heart also. Yay.
Yay. Okay, well, thank you. And again, I am Trinetta Powell. I'm a licensed professional counselor here in the state of Texas. I own a group virtual practice where our mission is to break the stigma of mental health in marginalized communities. Um, and I also do women's coaching where I help them silence that inner critic and learn to amplify their voice by learning how to set boundaries and making themselves a priority without feeling guilty, which leads us to this conversation about I'm not your superwoman. And I'm trying hard to not do our good friend Karen White's I'm not your superwoman soundtrack in my head because I grew up with that. But we're going to jump into the conversation again. If you're just now joining us, please put in the chat who you are, where you're joining us from. We would love to hear from you and hear your comments in the comment section. So I want us to start with just really talking about what does the superwoman mindset mean to you? What does it mean to you? Anybody can go.
I guess I can go. So for me, the term superwoman mindset means that you are the person that can do anything. And you're also the person that is expected to do everything because you can. Um, I think that that comes historically from our community. But I think a lot of times it's just expectations that we don't set to begin with. And everything just kind of ends up on us.
Mhm. I agree. It is truly that idea of being everything to everybody. I'm a first gen. I'm my mom's oldest. I'm the middle child with my daddy. But I'm my mom's oldest. I'm the first gen, first graduate student. Just the first of a lot of things, and the expectation of just showing up for everybody has been something that's been a record, and it's been the example. I feel like that I've seen just culturally in my personal family. My mama, my grandmama, everybody is just sacrificial. The women in the family are just very sacrificial with their giving. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
For sure. I would so
Anybody else?
agree with that
Oh,
generational piece that you mentioned, Trinetta. Like when I think of Superwoman, I actually like envision some of these women that have come before me, and just knowing that they did it all, whether it was working all day and then coming home to take care of the children, taking care of the household, like being everything to everyone. And almost like that was something that was praised, very much so praised, like Danny mentioned, very much so something that's expected. And then also this thought and belief about like, what does it look like when you don't fit into that? And
mhm,
really what a lot of us, especially as people of color, have strived for, because that was something that was modeled for us.
mhm. I agree wholeheartedly,
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, I would say the same thing. I think that somehow we've joined a culture where being a superwoman is praised, right? And so we continue to strive to do all the things and be all the things to all the people as if it's a badge of honor. Unfortunately, I think it's something that, it's innate. It's something that we feel like we can't break free from. So it's exciting to be able to be connected to women who are not subscribing to the superwoman mindset or the overwhelming activities that come with that.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
Um, I came up in the Oprah era, and I remember her doing one of her shows or something. And I know Oprah's really big on education, and she was saying if you educate a woman, you can save the whole family.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, man, that's true. We are powerful beings. Women, we can do a lot of things. And if we are educated, we can go to greater heights. But my question is it our responsibility?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Is it our responsibility to save everybody?
Mhm.
I don't think it's our responsibility to save everybody. I
Mhm,
think in some respects, yes, it kind of is our responsibility to like make sure the information we have is passed down to brothers and sisters and children and, parents and stuff like that. But I personally know I'm the oldest of 7 kids. So by nature, being the oldest one and even like into adulthood, it's always me trying to like figure things out without having that extra support from 6 other human beings who are perfectly capable, by the way,
mhm,
Hmm.
mhm,
of figuring things out on their own or supporting in that decision making. And so, yes, I do think that sometimes it's okay to like do things, pitch in, help, like support, but not 100% of the time. And I think that when we do start doing this supporting, playing that supporting role or playing the main character role and the supporting role, like it by default falls into 100% because we are, a lot of us are naturally nurturing and motherly and like we want to take care of people. And by nature, we do take care of people by
mhm.
responsibility. But that role kind of like adjusts over time,
Oh
and we
yeah.
don't always adjust with it, if
Yeah.
that makes sense.
Oh,
Yeah,
that makes a whole lot of sense.
yeah.
It
Because
does.
I'm trying to adjust with it. Let me just say, I am adjusting with it, but it's also making sure that other people adjust.
Yes.
Yes. Well,
Not
that
making
leads.
sure of it, but like letting them know that you also need to adjust for this to work, right? So yeah.
And we'll get to that too, because that goes into the piece of what do I do to break this, rhythm and pattern of the superwoman mindset. And part of that is going to, and we'll talk about it, setting those boundaries.
I think we get to a point where we begin to auto correct, but some of our trauma keeps us from not wanting to do it all, right? Because we have that mindset that we have to do everything so that we can get it done, or we don't want to wait, or we can't depend on other people. So it's almost like you, as much as you try to let some of it go, just like you're saying, then it's like deciding that I'm not going to do everything, but I got to get other people to come along board and say, hey, I don't, you too can do that. We look at that. You give someone a fish, they'll eat once. If you teach them how to fish, they can eat forever. Right. So we're attempting to teach people how to fish, yet they seem to still be hungry. So we're looking like, oh, well, I'm not gonna tell you. Like, let me go ahead and just try to go ahead, even though I've taught you, I've given you groceries, grease, and all of the things. I still need to somehow fry this up for you myself so that you can eat. And so I think in one of those things, it's really just our mindset of remembering that, hey, we've learned it, right? And we can teach it and pass it on and let other people learn how to thrive and survive on their own.
I agree. All right. Here's another question for us that kind of leads into, we talked a little bit about the cultural background of how that may impact how the superwoman mindset comes along. What do you think about society, though? How does society play a part in social media, play a part in feeding into that mindset?
I'm gonna just go with this one, because this is something that we've talked about a lot. I think social media, right? We're living in a world where we know it's no longer just about society from a community perspective, right? It's the society at large. And I feel like it's almost like social media, and this is not true, but didn't exist before 2020, right? We know that social media did exist before 2020 when COVID and the pandemic happened, but then it became all eyes on you, right? So all eyes are on social media because we didn't have other things to do. And our lens is so clouded that we feel like we have to be able to do all the things, or should be able to do, because everyone is telling us something different. Just like I'm looking here and I see four of us, I feel like that's how it is. It's just like on Hollywood Squares, where you have everybody there, everyone's giving a different answer, and you're kind of looking and just trying to decide who you're going to go with. That's what it's doing. For me, social media has this multi-layered lens of, you can do anything they can do, I can do better. Like, I feel like it's just this chase, this constant hamster wheel rat race of striving for more, subscribing to more, and trying to reach higher. And it has caused, for me, in some ways, some feelings of inadequacy, right? Where we know I had retired the cape, right? But somehow during the pandemic, I was like, well, let me pick that cape up, because I felt like I had more time to wear the cape around the house. And so now you're just like trying to do more, and pick that same exhausting habit of acting like we can do all of the things. But now it's just like you can't let go, because we're attached to so many desires that we've seen. I know that was lengthy, but
no,
I can agree with that. Yeah,
I agree wholeheartedly. It's in everything. It's in the social media messages. It's in the commercials we see on TV. It's in the music. I mean, what Beyonce, girls, we run the world, and all those things. We're constantly getting these messages that we can be all of the things. We can be anything we wanted to be, and we can run everything. But that is exhausting. Like, I'm tired. Like, I don't want to run everything anymore. The idea of being, and from, I'm going to speak for me personally, being the entrepreneur running the business, being the good wife, being a wonderful mom, being a good sister, being a good friend, you cannot be great in all the areas.
No.
Something is
Mhm.
going to suffer, and
Absolutely.
eventually it's going to be you who are suffering the most when you're trying to live in a place of excellence in so many categories.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
We just can't do it.
Yeah.
And we
Exactly.
suffer. Something has to suffer,
Yeah.
right? Because we
Mhm.
feel like we're doing, well, I'm going to do this 50-50, right? You cannot give the whole of you to more than one thing.
Exactly.
Right. And so I think we
Exactly.
hear that, okay, relationships are 50-50, and we're going to,
Yeah.
this part of me is going to show up here, and this part of me, it's in, last week I was at a conference, and it kept talking about fractured focus, fractured focus. And that is what this does. This superwoman mentality, this I can do everything, this break me off of me,
Yeah.
it's, we don't, for me, I find that I'm not completing the things that I want to do when I shift my mindset to superwoman.
Mhm.
Right.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And when I think of that social media piece, Trinetta, I'm holding on to what Sharonda just mentioned about like being attached to these desires, because I always say like what glitters is not always gold. You know what I mean? It's
Mhm.
just not. It looks like the person, they've got the clean house and this and that. They're working here, they're doing all this, but like what glitters is not always gold. To me, a lot of the time it's an illusion. A lot of people don't see the behind the scenes of like what's happening
Mhm.
behind that, or maybe that person has a housekeeper, because if you have the means, why not? Or they have the chef in the kitchen. And so it's a lot of the time an illusion that people are holding on to, these desires that they're holding on to, that are not even reality, that are
Mhm.
not reality at the end of the day. And so then they strive, and I know I've been guilty of it as well, striving to be this person, um, and it's not obtainable. And then when it's not obtainable, what does that do to your esteem? What does that do to your confidence? What does that do to you as a person as a whole when you're trying to meet the expectations that are just not realistic?
Well, you start to feel like you're an imposter, that you're just not who you say that you are.
Mm-hmm.
You're not living up to this expectation of what society says or what family says that you should be. And
Mhm.
so you feel like you're inadequate because we're doing the comparison game.
Yeah.
Hmm. And playing the comparison game would just lead you down a path um, of destruction.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
I
we
Absolutely.
think
have,
in some cases though, some of us have become addicted to the idea of being a superwoman, right? Because it's like, so it's social media, what Sharonda said, but it's also the mental thinking and mental energy
Mhm.
behind being able to do all the things. Like it's a
Mhm.
false sense of accomplishment. It's a false sense of we've
Exactly.
achieved something that we actually haven't achieved, right?
Exactly.
Mhm.
And I think part of it is just like in our desire to be all things to all people,
Mhm.
we think
Mhm.
we're doing that, but we're actually far from it. Like I
Mhm.
hear the term like work-life balance.
Mhm.
Or when reality there is no balance, right? There are times when we prioritize one thing over another,
Exactly.
and the other things have to fall by the wayside because you can't
Exactly.
accomplish anything if something is not the priority, right? And
Mhm.
so that whole idea of like everything is balanced and you must be doing things 50-50 or 25, 25, 25, and 25, like to get to 100,
Mhm.
it's almost non-existent, like it's not real,
Yeah.
and it's the illusion that Kim was referring to.
Mhm.
But Danny, I think to that, just like you're saying, we look at it. I often say,
Mhm.
the grass is greener on the other side. It is, but the water bill is sky high, right? We don't know.
Okay.
Right.
We don't know the price that they pay to have that green grass. I'm not willing to water my grass every day, so I'm gonna have
Mhm.
to deal with some of these brown spots. But I think that's the same construct of
Mhm.
I'm not gonna have everything.
Yeah.
So as I'm looking at what it costs to get some of these things that we're seeing when we subscribe to this superwoman mindset, what
Mhm.
are you willing to pay, right? And
Mhm.
it's not necessarily just monetarily, but it's your time, and that's time away from doing the things you love with the people you love. Yes, we can go and talk all day about this is my passion work and
Yeah.
I'm doing it because
Mm-hmm.
I love it. But
Yeah.
just like you said, something suffers from there. And
Exactly.
I think historically for me, one of the reasons that I found that I go in certain areas is because I'm running from the very thing that I know that I want or need to do, right? This thing
Exactly.
that I'm going after, chasing down vigorously, that's the thing that's easy. And so I can do a bunch of those things and it still gives me that confidence of being a
Yes.
superwoman. But
Yes.
that thing that requires more of me, that
Mhm.
thing that may really make me feel like the superwoman. See,
Yeah.
I'm running from that because I can't do it with the same level of ease
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
comfort that I
Mhm.
do these things that I do more of.
Yeah.
Right. And I think it's always easier to show up for other people than it is to show up for ourselves.
Yeah.
Like it's always easier.
Uh-huh.
Like I have found that to even in my own like trying to build my business and doing all the things, it's easier for me to go and help someone else
Mhm.
clean their garage or
Mhm.
do whatever they have asked to do.
Wait,
Right.
Danny, you clean garages?
Right. Right.
Like things that
I
I don't
digress.
even clean my own
Right.
garage, okay? Or go help someone else like clean their house because
Oh
they've
my gosh.
been sick or they've been going through a lot. Like it's always easier to just go and be the person that is like
Mhm.
reaching out to someone and helping them than it is to like just do the work that I'm supposed to be doing, right?
Well, there's a different reward there
Yeah.
Mhm.
when
Yes,
you're helping
exactly.
someone else, right?
Mhm.
You know that feeling of accomplishment, that
Uh-huh.
joy,
Uh-huh.
you're gonna
Right.
feel that
Yeah.
immediately. This rat
Yes.
race that we're on,
Mhm.
you that we're waiting for an end result, and
Yeah.
I know that because I can say, hey, Danny, I'm trying to get this landing page or whatever it
Mhm.
is, and you're like, here we go, because
Mhm.
that is something like that's in your zone of genius
Yeah.
without thought. Somebody
Mhm.
could come
Yeah.
to me and ask me to write something, and I'm blinking it out because that's in my zone of genius without
Mhm.
thought, right? So
Right.
to some,
Exactly.
that might seem like, oh, you're doing all of the things, but
Mhm.
I can do that thing
Exactly.
without
Without
effort,
thinking about it. Exactly.
right?
Exactly. Yeah.
It's those other
Exactly.
things that I need to do, right?
Mhm.
Mhm.
That
Mhm.
I can't do without that
Woo.
same
Mhm.
level of effort, right?
Very true. Yep.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes. Yes.
exactly.
Yeah.
That instant gratification versus doing those things that we need to do that takes the
Mhm.
long road down, right?
Mhm.
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 Absolutely.
Absolutely. Okay.
So listen, y'all, if y'all are out there and you have any questions, I see so many people popping in from
Yes.
all over, East
Love
Coast,
it.
West Coast,
Mhm.
out there in the Heat Coast.
Look, we're not gonna talk about this Texas heat of triple digits
Woo.
Listen, I
that
don't
we
know.
dealing
My
with.
car
Woo.
read 104 today this afternoon. But if you have any comments or thoughts or questions about
Mhm.
how you're feeling, if you can relate to that superwoman complex, y'all jump on in and ask
Mhm.
a question or make a comment because we know in this quad right here we are not alone. And
No,
so
ma'am.
Absolutely.
how
Yeah.
if there's anything that we can do to just kind of point you in the right direction, right? Because we're
Mhm.
talking about it, but we got capes half on and half
Yeah.
off to an
Uh,
extent, so we know.
yes.
Y'all come on and join
Yes.
us in the conversation.
Yes.
Someone said the Heat Coast must be
Yes,
Texas. You're right about that.
it is.
Look, this heat is an absolute hot mess.
Yes.
It
Yes.
is.
Goodness.
Lakeisha McCauley said the superwoman complex is exhausting.
Oh,
Um,
yeah.
and
Yeah.
then Tina says, "What about if you struggle?" Oh, go ahead, Trinetta. What about if
Say
you
no.
struggle to say no
That's
without
Without
me.
feeling
feeling it.
guilty?
Mm.
That's me all
Well,
day.
Tina, I have something for you. It's called 75 Ways to Say No Without Guilt.
Yes.
I'll drop the link in the chat.
Yes.
But yeah, let me tell y'all something. When
Come on,
y'all
sis.
look, when y'all get ready to start setting some boundaries with folks, when you're ready to take this cape off,
Mhm.
when you got to be really, really ready
Mhm.
to do it. Because when you do, you're gonna make some people upset.
Yes.
They're gonna be real good and mad with you. But that is not what you need to focus on. What you need to focus on is your
Mhm.
own personal mental health, your own personal peace. And it's not something that we've been taught
Yeah.
in women of color in the Black community.
Yeah.
We have not been taught to say no to mama,
Mm-mm.
sister,
Mm-mm.
our children.
Mhm.
Mhm.
we've been taught to give them our all. And in the process of giving them our all, we over here with anxiety, depression, tired. Some of us went into financial debt because we're giving them our all.
So Janetta has all of these ways to say no.
Yeah,
I do have all the ways to say no. I'll put the
nice.
And so what I'll say,
actually, I'm gonna put it in the chat.
Put it in the chat.
I'll put it in the chat. But I'll put it in the chat and you can grab it. It's a free download, y'all. Y'all ain't got to pay for that. But it's 75 different ways you can say no. But initially, when you start saying no, you're going to feel some guilt.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You are. You're going to feel some guilt about it. And that's okay.
Yeah.
Lean into the feeling. Acknowledge that you feel guilty and then say, but my peace is what's priority.
You know,
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
And when you say no, you don't have to necessarily explain why you're saying no. You can simply say, no, I don't have the capacity for that right now in my life.
Or ever. We don't have the capacity ever.
Or ever.
No time in the future. Yeah.
No, I don't have the capacity for that currently in my life. I don't have the mental space to assist with that right now. Here's a resource. And send them on their way. And that's fine, but they're going to be a little upset with you, but that's okay.
And it, like anything, it's about reconditioning, right? You have to recondition yourself and remembering, Sylvia says, I have guilt just thinking about it. Remembering that a no to someone else is a yes to you. And I think when we start really understanding the value of our time, the no can be a little bit easier. And I say yes intentionally. And there are likely things others think I should say no to. And there are things that I think I should say no to. And God tells me that I have to say yes, right? So there's a difference between the purpose and why you're saying yes. So that's something that I think is important also, that we're not just saying no to say no, but we're saying no because one, things don't align with who we are. Two, we do not have the capacity to say no. And three, there's just no comfort in that, or we don't have, that's just not what we're going to do at this time. And so remembering that no is a complete sentence, I think it's integral that you begin that as just, especially within our community, a BIPOC community, that we have to begin teaching children to say no at a very early age and to tell them that no means no at a very early age, because it is a setting a boundary and it's allowing children to even respect other people's space and boundaries. So Janetta and I had this conversation. We had it at our retreat back in second quarter where we talked so much about in March, talking about no, because it's, as businesswomen, as mothers, as wives, as leaders in the community, as entrepreneurs, sometimes we feel like we have to say yes to do things for whatever the reason is. But if that yes is not in alignment with who you are, then the answer has to be no.
Correct. And if you're not sure where, if it's in alignment or not, then you've got to do a deep dive within yourself. And reevaluate what your values are. And our values change through the different seasons of our lives. What I value when I was 21 is definitely not what I'm valuing at 44. Baby, my couch is wonderful, and going to bed at 9 o'clock sounds amazing.
So good.
Okay. So good. At 21, that wasn't what we was doing.
Absolutely.
Exactly. So you have to sit down and reevaluate what's important to you. What are your values? Because you don't even know what to say no to if you don't know what your values are.
Right.
Exactly. I can't help, Trinetta, but to think about like this topic that oftentimes comes up when working with clients on like disengaging from people-pleasing behaviors. I find that it takes like 3 main ingredients. One, what do your communication skills look like so that you can know how to say no to people, right? So that's one piece. But then also, what are your managing emotion skills look like? Because if you can't manage your emotions to communicate that message, that's when you start telling them the 20 reasons why
Yeah.
you got to say no, when really nobody deserves all that. Like
Mhm.
everyone said, no is a complete sentence. But
Mhm.
then two, also, where is your esteem? Where is your confidence within
Mhm.
self that promotes assertiveness? That gives you the ability to be able to say no to people. And I really think you need those key ingredients along with what was mentioned about the values piece, because as we know, time is something that we all would like more of, but it's the thing we probably have
The
the least amount of. And so
True.
how are you honoring your time, and how are you communicating that to others? And then taking a deep dive into, why is it hard for me to say no? What are those barriers? And I can get into even generational barriers, religious barriers that come up, all of these different influences that have
Mhm.
told us to be the yes woman. When
Mhm.
really the yes woman, like you said, if you are saying yes to others, oftentimes you're saying no to self. That oftentimes leads to resentment. And how is that helping you? How is that helping the other person if you're delivering things with resentment?
Mhm.
And
Exactly.
and I think sometimes when we do say no, the people that have the biggest problem with it are the people that have benefited the most from
Say
all
that
of
again, sis.
One more time,
Say it a
roll it
little
back.
louder for the people in the back.
the people. Like when we do start putting boundaries in place and we do start saying no more often, like
Yes,
the
yes.
people that often have the problem with it are the people that have benefited the most. Like to
Mhm.
all of the times we've said yes, or all of the times we've done
Mhm.
things without even being asked to do it, like just jumping in and helping. Like
Mhm.
that's often what happens. And then we have to go and round the circle, and like then we try to appease their emotions and make them feel better, and oh,
Mhm.
it's not so bad, and you can still be my friend, and all of these things, when really they also need to start setting boundaries for themselves. Maybe they need to stop asking so much for things. Maybe there's some things that they can do on their own that don't involve you, right?
Mhm.
Maybe you don't have to be their only friend. Maybe they need to step out and be more friendly, right? It's just
Mhm.
different things that are people's big like thing that they need to work on, and
Yeah.
we're the handicap because we always come in and save the day. Um,
Yes.
yeah.
I
Yeah.
often
Yeah.
say, and this was something that God gave me.
Yeah.
If I play God, other people won't need Him, right? And so I find that sometimes. Now I am retired from this 10 years.
Mhm.
June 2nd, 2013. I gave that up, but I
Yeah.
found that I was always stepping in to rescue. Right,
Mhm.
we move into rescue mode when we really have to teach other people to be self-sufficient. And I love that, Danny, that you said um, that other people who are most impacted are those who value who benefited from the yes the most, right?
Mhm.
And so
Yep.
what one of the things I say, I try, it's kind of, I don't know how this aligns with my faith, but I always, if they're not adding, then we need to subtract them,
Mhm.
right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Because what's
Yeah.
happening is people are benefiting, right?
Oh yeah.
But where's the reciprocity and where's the yield? Now, there's a caveat to that. Again, for me, I'm a
Okay.
God's girl. So if the Lord is like, do it, then I'm going to do it. And if there's no reciprocity and I feel like you're taking advantage, then all right.
Mhm.
However, we still have to put that space in there for people because it causes us to be burn out. It
Mhm.
causes compassion
Mhm.
fatigue for us. And when you are a doer, when you are empathetic, when you do care about people,
Mhm.
that is a challenge,
Mhm.
right? So it's a challenge
Absolutely.
because we want to say it because we don't want to see other people
Mhm.
suffer. I saw
Mhm.
because Pasha say, I'm such a helper that sometimes I find myself helping with things that others may not even value as much as I do for themselves. That's got to be exhausting,
Yeah.
right? So
Yes.
anybody want to comment on that?
Oh,
Yeah.
go. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Danny. I feel that bubbling here for you.
I have a lot of like different thoughts about this because I'm simultaneously like getting.
Uh-oh.
Danny for
Danny
okay.
just froze.
Oh, you're
Okay,
There you go.
okay. You're back.
you're good now.
I don't know what the devil.
You're
Yeah,
fine.
because that's powerful.
So-
Come on with it, Danny.
Okay, so I do agree with this because I am still slowly, and I talked with Shanetta about this even yesterday. I'm slowly trying to get out of this always helping, always just doing for people, right? I think sometimes I don't want to take the time because I feel like they slow, they're not gonna get it, they're gonna have a million questions. I'll just go and like do it myself because I know I can do it faster. I know what needs to be done, and it don't really matter what they think, right? But it kind of does matter what they think, and it does matter that they use their two hands and their two ears and their one brain to do the things that they need to do that will benefit their own lives. Because for me, yes, it might be benefiting me because I will feel better because I have helped someone, right? But it's not technically not benefiting me because I have a million other things that I could be doing with that time that I'm not doing. And when I am helping and doing for other people, like I'm essentially like not leaving room open and space open for the things that I am supposed to be doing, right? Because God will let us, like, I don't know how many people are religious out here or not, but God will let us do the things that we feel we can do, and He'll just hold back the things that we're supposed to be doing until we get tired enough to actually start doing those things. So that's that's what I feel.
Yeah, for sure. I also can't help but to think about, looking at the question here again, being a helper and others not always valuing that. Sometimes I find that I'm giving things to people that really don't deserve that side of me. And it's about withholding the gifts that I've been given because that's something separate. That's a different mission. But I think it goes back to us being the manager of our own time, our own thoughts, our own feelings and behaviors. And sometimes I find that maybe they don't find value in it because it's something valuable to us. And we want to give that to them because maybe we've misplaced them on our shelf. Maybe we put them on the top shelf when they really need to be on the middle or the bottom shelf, which they deserve a little bit.
Or on the floor.
Somewhere, got the brain spotting coming out. I see that, Sharon. Brain spot that away, right? But that I think that's something to think about. Is like, okay, you find it to be a value, but they're not honoring it as such. Where is the disconnect there? Where is the tension between those two things, and how to eliminate that so that you're not left with feelings of either hurt or disappointment, or
rejection.
Rejection. Maybe just maybe, I'm not sure, but maybe just maybe they're on the wrong shelf and they need some adjusting.
Yeah. Good stuff. Yeah. Good stuff. Wonderful.
Kim, let me just say that where you said say it one more time.
That was Danny.
It was the end of what you said. I actually looked over and got distracted. But okay, you talked about feeling guilty about not right. I think that is a us thing, right? And it is about cutting the cord, right? Realizing that we're not assigned to everyone, and we don't have to help everyone, right? And there may be some people that you are assigned to, and that season is up. That you had that there was a role that you were supposed to play in their life, but that time has passed. Sometimes we're hanging on to responsibilities that we think are ours and they're not. Now, some of that may come from guilt, right? That maybe they didn't get what they should have gotten or could have gotten in that time, but that's sometimes attached to our personal trauma. And so that's where we do the work and like, wait a minute, this is not my thing. We know as clinicians that people are going to come to us and we're going to give them every tool and they're still not going to be able to heal because they're not putting in the effort to do what we do. In those cases, we have an ethical obligation to release them. Somehow, outside of that clinical room, we don't take that same opportunity to release people who are draining us or who are not doing the work that they need to do. They are allowing us to do more for them than they are doing for them. And then it becomes a burden to us.
Right.
I often say I'm not a pallbearer. I'm not carrying dead weight. So if it
Yeah.
begins to feel
Yeah.
heavy, then
Mhm.
we are likely carrying more of it, right, than they
Mhm.
are.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes. And this happening way too often. So how do we shift from being in this place where we're doing everything for everybody? We feel like we got to show up. Um, being in positions and seasons where things are not aligned. How do we make the shift to letting some of this mindset go? I'll go first. I think it starts with self-awareness.
Yes.
You got to know you.
Yes.
If
Yeah.
you don't know yourself and what your thresholds are with
Mhm.
what you can take on and how far you can push yourself to and know where those boundaries need to be placed, then you can't set them. So
Mhm.
I think it starts with, well, one, recognizing that you are in a place of superwoman mindset that has probably led to some burnout and exhaustion,
Mhm.
and admit that that's where you are. And then do some inner reflection of saying, okay, well, what do I need?
Yeah.
What do I need to let go of?
Mhm.
Mhm.
Uh-huh. What do I want more of in my life?
Yeah.
And how do I get it?
Yeah.
And how do I get it? So first, I think it's recognizing that you are in a place of this superwoman mindset that's leading to those negative things of exhaustion, frustration, overwhelm, burnout. Then doing some self-reflection on, okay, what do I want more of? What do I need to get rid of?
Mhm.
And so you can figure out where you need to set those boundaries.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. For sure. I'm also Trinette, and I know that a lot of y'all subscribe to this too. Is this whole like getting to the root of it?
Mhm.
Because I'm all about like mowing the lawn, but like we need to get
Mhm.
to those weeds too and really pull those out. Like, why do I operate this way? Now that I have the self-awareness, why am I engaging in this way? Where did I learn these types of rules and expectations and things of that nature?
Mhm.
Because I think there's a lot of power there. I think for a lot of us, disengaging from this superwoman schema is almost denying a part of our
Mhm.
identity that we have
Mhm.
upheld for so long. And so I think there's also a process there about like, okay, how do I make this transition while still being true to myself? And then sometimes having that dialogue with self about like the fear of what others might think from
Mhm.
this you because what you're going to say no to your grandmother about going to the function or whatever it may be, you know what I mean? Like some of these things we're asking people to do by no longer being this superwoman is like, whoa, this is something so huge that I've never even engaged in. So I think it's also about that piece. And then I like to put out there knowing too that it's okay to not get it right. You know,
Mhm.
I think about
Mhm.
a time where my boss was I was furloughed for work, and my boss was asking me to come back, and I was like, okay, I had already practiced how I was going to tell her I was not coming back, and I was going to go into private practice full time. And when I tell you, I fumbled that conversation so much to the point where she said, "What are you saying? Like, are you quitting?" You know, I had to then finally spit it out and say, "No, I'm not coming back. I love you, but I'm not coming back." Right? And so it's like knowing also that it takes a lot of trial, it takes a lot of error to no longer live up to this superwoman schema. And then guess what? At the end of the day, everyone's still all right. Everyone's still
Yes.
living. The
Yes.
planet's not going to explode. Like
Nope.
everything's still going to be okay.
A lot of grace. Give yourself a lot of grace in the process and the journey of it. You excuse me, it took you years of learning this
Mhm,
mindset and executing it. So
mhm.
it's going to take a minute to undo what
Yeah,
you've learned. And
yeah.
I love this comment. I just had it up for a
Mhm,
second that
mhm.
Lakeisha may like get you a good therapist that will not coddle you
Yes,
and seek
yes,
Jesus simultaneously and be ready to
yeah,
change. Love yourself
yeah,
more and do what will keep you
yes,
whole. I
yes,
agree
yeah,
100%. Yes.
yeah,
Yeah.
Everybody can't handle a therapist that won't coddle you, and I think
yeah.
it's at least 3 of them on this channel who won't. We keep it real. If you come into therapy with me, Kim or Sharonda, there's no coddling.
There's no
So if you in
comment.
Texas or Charlotte or New Jersey, Sharonda, you do New
Mhm.
Jersey,
Mhm.
um,
Charlotte, Florida,
shorter than Florida. Okay.
North Carolina.
But yes, definitely have a lot of grace with yourself on that journey. It's not going to happen overnight, and you won't always get it right in the beginning, but just be willing to be vulnerable. I know y'all do not like that word, but you have to be willing to be vulnerable, to put yourself out there, to be able to set those boundaries and to protect your heart, your needs, your peace. And the other people, they'll be okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Sylvia, I'm sorry. Sylvia says, I grew up being told I had to help care for others and provide assistance because at one point in time, I was going to be the one needing something. And the guilt. And no one would be there for me. However, when I have needed help, no one has been there to help, been there anyway. How many have experienced
that? Is the one. That is the one.
What?
Being there for everybody else, and no one is there for you when you need them, or even when you don't need them. When you go think about other people and you just do things for like not being asked for no reason, you want that same thing to be reciprocated, right? You want people to be thoughtful and considerate. So this does not ever work in your favor. Like it just doesn't.
It does not. It does not. I love this. Yes. Thanks, Sylvia, for that.
I think too is really just deciding, and I think we kind of stated this, but it can't be stated more what you are willing to do, right? As we reassess, as we're self-aware, as we do these reflections, they have to be done regularly. Because just like you said, Trinetta, 21 and now, there are things that I could do 2 months ago that I can't do now, that I don't have the capacity for. Listen, in March, I was sitting with you ladies, right? And here we are, it's July, I can't sit with you. I don't know how Kim sent me a message on Friday, like, hey, we going on Monday in case you want to fly out. Come meet us. I was like, just say, now there was a time where that might have been possible, right? And so this is not that time, but knowing when those shifts happen in your life, when you have the capacity to do one thing and then you don't. And then that's another time where, as Trinetta said, extending yourself some grace, right? Because Trinetta had to remind me, Fran. I said, Trinetta, did Kim send me a message about something in Dallas? She said, yes, you may be able to, maybe you could have got a flight. And then she's reminding us, then I'm like, dang, I wish I could, Fran, give yourself some grace, okay? Like that's not what we're doing right now. And so having people in your squad, in your circle, in your sphere of influence that will remind you that you can't do all the things, that you shouldn't be trying to do all the things. And I know we do that to one another. Like, I mean, we all have to remind Kim.
To sit down somewhere, as grandma and them say, sit down somewhere. You're doing too much.
So make sure that you have people in your life that will hold you accountable and that are not afraid to confront you and say you're doing too much, right? Spasha and Keisha and another sister, Brandy, told me yesterday, like, okay, you might need a break. Right. And yes, I know, Trinetta, y'all have told me the same. You might need a break. You sit down. Same thing. Just take a break. Turn the call. Just wait a minute. So it's important that we have people in our lives who are reminding us to sit down. And be okay with setting down.
Listen, it's okay to say no, y'all. It's okay to say no to the baby shower. No to the wedding. No, I can't come help you move. It's just okay to say no. It really, really is. You don't have to do it. And I want us to address this other question that came up.
Yes.
Tina asked. So Tina says, what about when people tell you God has blessed you so you can bless others? Look now.
Let me tell you something. You don't know the story behind people's blessings. You don't know how far they have come. You don't know what kind of work they have put in. You don't know what kind of obedience they have shown. You don't know what kind of trials and tribulations they have been through. And how dare you impose your needs upon somebody else's blessings?
Mhm.
Like that does not make any sense
Yeah.
to us.
Yeah.
But for you
Yeah.
can't do that. Just because you think or assume that somebody has it, that does not mean it is for you.
Mhm.
Say that again, please,
It,
Danny. One more
it does
time.
not. Like I have
One more time.
you all can tell I have a real like get away
I felt-
from me
I felt-
with this.
Woo!
No, just because you might look like or someone has
Exactly.
assumed that you have it
Exactly.
all together or you're doing well for yourself or you're making the
Exactly.
money or whatever that assumption is,
Exactly.
that if they don't know you
Mhm.
and they don't know what is behind all of that,
Yes.
no. No.
Absolutely.
And God will test us. I have learned that God will test us with his blessings.
Yeah.
Like, let me just bless you a little bit
Yeah.
and see how much you finna go give to these people.
Yeah.
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 Let me not give you no more.
Yes.
Yeah.
That goes back, Danny, to that if we play God, they won't need God. Because I believe that's rolled up in there also. Right? But I will say this, and
Yeah.
I have been saying this for a long time. Please don't prophesy to me. You do not need to come and tell me
Do
what the
not.
Lord. Do not tell me what the Lord told you to tell me, because the good thing, and I in ministry, I will say this to anybody who knows God for themselves. I do not believe that God has given you a message for me that he will not give to me, because I have a relationship with him.
Ain't
And
no
so
way.
he may send you to confirm. But I promise y'all, if you know anything about me, I've been saying this for decades. If you need something from me, God has already told me what to give you before you come. So when you come asking, God has already, there's something in my spirit that knows what to give, what
Right.
level to give, and how
Right.
to give. And I'm not giving it if I cannot give it. So
Yeah.
it's
Correct.
not alone. I'm believing in the Psalms that says it's better
Yeah.
not to shake hands. And I'm
Mhm.
going to go with Shakespeare that said, neither a
Mhm.
borrower nor a lender be, for loan or food is both itself
Mhm.
your friend. Okay, so we're not doing
Yes.
either of those things. And so when people tell you
Oh,
that,
my goodness.
Tina, that God has blessed you, then you let them know that there are a couple of ways for them to get into the good graces of God. And
Yes.
then you can teach them some of the principles of that, which are fasting and praying and radical obedience. And please don't think just because I'm a believer that I got all these blessings of the Lord, because what we do know is that the blessings of the Lord maketh one rich and addeth no sorrow. So when you coming over here trying to get some of the blessings that God gave me that he didn't give you because you's over there not whatever the Lord's reason is, because I'm not God, don't come over here to me with that, right? So yes, Tina, tell the good people that because the Lord is your shepherd, you got everything you need.
Yeah. He is here to be everybody's shepherd. Tap in.
Exactly.
in.
But I do think sometimes like people see blessings differently, right?
Yeah.
Some see blessings as monetary, financial. Some see blessings as like, oh, you got a husband, you got a wife, you got some kids. Some see blessings as you got the house, you got the car. Some see blessings as you can take a vacation every month, right?
Mhm.
I think that when people say blessings or you can, give me something because you have it, I think this also goes into business too. Like, oh, you can help me start my business because you started a business. No, 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 no. If you don't have the obedience, the work ethic, you don't have the faith, the prayer, you're not willing to put in the time and the effort and the energy, it might not work for you the same way it has worked for me.
Correct.
And
Yeah.
helping people to understand that is the difficult part, because I get people who like want me to help them with their business, right?
Mhm.
And they not willing to do no work. Like they want me to tell them all the things and do the work for them and then expect the same result. No, that's not how it works. No.
Danny, you have to tell them they can pick your brain
No, they can't. No.
after they pick their method of payment.
Exactly.
Yes, you can.
Checks. We accept Visa, MasterCard, American
Oh my
Express.
gosh,
We
I
accept
can't.
all the things. Yes, you want to give
All the
cash,
things.
we accept it all.
Oh my goodness.
Yes.
Ladies, this has been wonderful. If you guys have enjoyed this conversation, and this is us on the light note, when we off camera, we're a hot mess. We always have a good time for
Yeah.
sure. But if you have enjoyed this conversation and you have gotten something out of it, please put it in the chat. We would love to hear your comments and your thoughts on it. There may be a part 2 on this topic because we can continue definitely because there's so many other parts of it that we didn't even touch tonight.
Yeah.
But we know attention spans start to run short, and we're coming up on an hour. It went by real fast.
It did.
Yvette, thank you. I'm glad you enjoyed the conversation. Thank you so much. If you enjoy spending time with us and you are a woman of color, a leader of color, we are going to be together again this September. I am hosting a lovely women's retreat that is focused on rest and relaxation, something with the Superwoman mindset we don't know how to do very well. And so we are going to be showing you how to do that in September. It is September 14th through 17th in Delray Beach, Florida. We have our Christmas in July special going on right now. Danny, Sharonda, and Kimberly will be there as well, serving. Yeah, serving. And they will also be on our panel we will be having that is called Where My Squad At? Well, we'll have another candid discussion similar to this, but just more so on the topics of community of women coming together of color and the power that can come from that, and how do we build friendships in adulthood. Yes. So that's what we'll be talking about. And I'll drop that link in the chat as well for y'all, so y'all have it. But it's been wonderful, y'all. I have enjoyed my time. Y'all enjoy y'all time?
Yes, this is fun.
I love it.
I've enjoyed my time.
Yeah, Danny would like for us to come every week and talk to y'all.
I would.
Yes. Oh, thanks, Kim. See, Kim is a good reminder for me. Also for the retreat, we did have some scholarship participants who applied for a scholarship because I wanted to be in a place where I also wanted to make the retreat accessible for women that I know who need it, but maybe just had some other type of barriers in place. And we had 5 spots open. And y'all didn't apply like y'all needed to. So we only have 2 winners for the scholarships, and I will be sending you guys an email, so look for that tonight. But if you are interested in the retreat, I did put the link in the chat. But you may have a financial need. There are still 3 spots left for scholarship, and you're getting 50% off.
Yeah.
Of the retreat at that rate. And I'll put that in the chat as well. If you want to do the application, it's 2 questions.
And so listen, if you know someone also who you feel like may benefit from the retreat and has a financial burden, also, be sure to share that this isn't a retreat that you're going to be busy the whole time you're there. This is a rest retreat, right? So it's not full of workshops, is not heavy on content. This is a rest. This is about taking off your cape and finding time to rest and revive and restore. So whether it's you or someone that can benefit, and you enjoyed hanging out with us, or you want to hang out with some other ladies, right? You can bring them. But
if you're looking for your squad, you may find them there.
Yes, I found my squad at a retreat. Some of them, but I'm super excited to be a part of the retreat. I'm super excited for the opportunity to rest. How about that?
Amen.
Yes.
It's wonderful. But you guys can click the links. All the information is there. I think I put them across LinkedIn and Facebook. I think I hit everybody. If not, I'll double check afterwards. But this has been wonderful. I've enjoyed my time, and we'll see y'all next time.
All right.
Bye.
Bye, ladies. Bye, everyone.